Hey guys, so today we're going to go ahead and talk about how you should expect your biology notebook to look like, or actually how I expect your biology notebook to look like. Now, one thing that we need to make sure of is that we have a notebook that is just for biology. Don't put your algebra homework in here, don't put any other homework in here, because there will be times where I collect this and I grade this. So kind of keep that in mind, that this is a very important notebook and it needs to only be for biology. So when you open your biology notebook, the first thing that we're going to see on here is I want to see a table of contents. Now we'll start a new table of contents every chapter we come across, but go ahead and open your biology notebook and let's kind of get this started. So I'm going to show you how to build your table of contents. So at the very top, we're obviously going to make a title. So our title should be Chapter 1. Okay. The science of biology. Now there's a couple things that you also need to put in your table of contents, and you need to be responsible enough to make sure that as you add something to your notebook, you are also making sure that you are numbering it, you're numbering the pages and so forth. So the first thing I need is I want the number in which whatever the next assignment is. So the first thing that we are actually going to put into our biology notebooks is going to be how we take notes in biology. So I also then need a title of what the first thing is. So, or we could just put taking notes in biology. Along with that, I want a page number. So I like to make little dots. Okay, we'll just do a couple of them so we're not going all the way across the page. And so that will be on page 2 of our notebook. Okay, so for instance, this would be page 1. We're going to label our notebooks in the top right-hand corners. And so that's page 1. When I flip this page over, the back of this page is going to be page 2. Okay, and then the next page, page 3. And you're going to do that for every assignment. So as you go through, don't forget to number the pages of your notebook. Okay, so that's the first thing that we'll see for each chapter in your notebook. And then we'll go ahead and eventually tab the notebook out so that you can find particular things in there. So that's step 1. Okay, so now step 2 is taking notes in biology. So we're going to go ahead and turn to the next page. And we're going to title this page as well so we know what it is. And we're going to title it Taking Notes in Biology. Alright, so now everyone needs to make sure, or every time we take notes, we need to make sure that there's a heading. Okay, so we need to have the title and the section, okay, that we're taking this from. So in your book, you will see that. So we're going to get our online textbooks. We're also going to get our actual copies of the textbook. But for instance, this is chapter 1.1. And you know that it's chapter 1.1 because it has the 1.1 right here. And then it has what is science. Okay, so that's going to be the chapter or the title of your notes. So we're going to go ahead and write right here so that we know that we're going to put notes need titles. And our format should be our chapter plus section, chapter number plus section number. So our example can be 1.1. Okay, and then we also need the heading. So, or the name, not the heading, the name of that chapter. Name not chapter, section, name of that section. Okay, so we always have a title. The next thing that we'll do in our notes is we'll actually separate our vocabulary from our actual note taking. So what I'm going to do is come down this way like this, and my vocab is going to be over here. Okay, so the vocab is going to stay over to the left because it's a nice little reference point. So as you're reading about something, you'll have your vocab there. Your vocabulary words, they'll do a list in your book. So here's the vocab here, but then they'll also be highlighted in the book as well. So you'll see them, here's science right here. You'll see the definition as you read. So your vocab is going to go on the left side. Your actual notes will go on the right side. So we have our notes over here. Now, our next video that you're going to watch, I'm going to show you how we take notes, and we're going to do the note taking together for chapter 1. But let's go ahead and just kind of identify what I expect you to do. Every time you come across a vocab word, you're going to underline it. Now, it needs to be underlined. You can highlight it. You can like star it. You can box it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make sure that this shows up so that I know, and it kind of separates it. Guys, notes are supposed to be a shorter version of the book, okay? It's supposed to be a quick reference for you. You don't need to write down everything that you read, okay? That would be pointless. You just need to write down the things that you think are important or you find important, but then also make sure you do it in a way that's organized and it's easy for you to reference. Okay, spend less time thinking about how you're going to save paper in your binder and spend more time thinking about how you can organize it so it helps you better. Now for me, I need something, and I want you to do this as well, that separates the vocab term from the definition. So you're going to always write the vocab word up here. Okay, and then under it, so you're not going to do it on the same line, you're going to write the definition. And you're going to indent a little bit. So, definition. Or define. Okay, so you're going to define. That's going to take up some space. Okay, after you define, you're going to need to draw a picture. Okay, so you are going to have a couple lines with the definition. Then you're going to draw picture, okay? Or you can come up with an example. Okay, draw a picture, come up with an example, and then what you're going to do is you're going to separate that vocab word from the next vocab word. So you can do that by a squiggly line, you can do that just by a straight line, but again, the point of notes is making sure that we stay organized, okay, and we find the important information from the book. Okay, so stay organized, vocab comes over here, and I do expect these things. So don't try and show me your notes without the picture, without an example. I will look for that when I go around and I check your homework. So it is important for you to do your job and make sure that's in there. All right, so in the notes, when you're taking notes, you want to make sure that you include the heading. So right here, as we read through, we have a nice big heading here. So what science is and what science is not. Now we have this stuff up here, but it says think about it. So it doesn't mean you actually have to take notes in it. It's just telling you to think about it. So one day long ago, someone looked around and wondered, where did plants and animals come from? How did it come to be? Since then, humans have tried to answer those questions in different ways. Some ways of explaining the world have stayed the same over time. Science, however, is always changing. Now, to me, that's kind of asking you to think about things. Okay? One thing that I thought maybe could be important is science is always changing. Okay, but if we don't see that in here, we can add it later. Okay, so we don't have to put things like that intro there. That doesn't have to go into your notes because it's more or less wanting you to get your mind started in thinking about it. But don't skip about it because there's a reason, or when you're reading and taking notes, don't skip it. There's a reason why you're reading it. So next, what science is and what science is not. We would write that heading down. So you would write your heading. And that would be like heading number 1. And you can underline it. Again, you could separate it with color. I'm fine with however you want to do this. The next thing is that you need to, as you read, you need to take notes. Now, don't take notes all the way over here. Okay, let's indent. Again, if you indent, it separates information. It allows your eyes to pick it up better. It's going to be easier for you to, when we go back and look at other questions through the chapter, hopefully skim through it better. So, go ahead and you can use bullets. So something that looks like that. And just take notes, right? Some of the sentences that you see. And again, you don't have to write down everything you see. And I'm going to give you guys that example. So you're going to write your info. Okay. And then you're going to basically maybe come up with examples. So a lot of times our science books, they're going to state something and then they're going to say, for instance, or they're going to, for example, they're going to give you an example. And the examples, if you don't understand what they're trying to say to you, are going to be really nice reference points to you. But again, you can shorthand those examples as well. You can draw a picture. You can just jot down like maybe 3 words, anything that's going to help. So you're going to indent again anytime that you're giving an example. I like to use arrows, but again, if you want to use bullet points, that's fine. These are your notes. So then you write your example. Okay. And then as you read, you basically can come up, you'll come across another heading. Number 2, I went back and I didn't indent again. I underline that heading. I write my information. And I provide my examples. So that's pretty much the format that you need for taking notes. Biology is a science that it deals with a process. So a lot of times if there's a process, you don't have to write something like this. So for instance, with science being a process, the first thing we kind of look at, or we go through the scientific method. So through observation, then we do research, then we hypothesize. You wouldn't necessarily have to write everything out like this. What you could do is you could draw pictures as well. Okay, so you don't have to do this format if it's something like a process. You can always draw pictures, but just make sure that you're heading your pictures and you're writing down the information that kind of deals with those pictures, that kind of helps to build your knowledge. Alright, so that's it for today. Hopefully the video wasn't too long, and I will be checking these things tomorrow. You have a nice night.